It's the Saturday Show, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back. I'm Christian Esparza. Alex Napoles with us. Good morning. Hope you have wonderful plans for your weekend ahead. We love to start things off for you.
It's great times, man.
Yeah.
It's great times. There's a lot of news to break a lot of news to break down and talk about. Busy week for a weird, just early June week here in the state of Utah, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, we had the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals both start. And then what seemed like a slow Friday night, all of a sudden we got a bombshell breaking news story. We'll get to that in a second. Basically, the NCAA's House Settlement was approved, so we've got a lot of information to go through there as far as, long story short, schools and institutions can now directly pay their student athletes like a professional sports team would. So we'll get to that in a second, but first, we only see each other basically once or twice a week. We got to catch up.
That is true.
We can't just jump right in. Alex, how was your week, man?
Phenomenal week. Phenomenal week. Last weekend, went out to Vegas, had the time of my life, watched Kendrick Lamar in concert, kind of had a little bit of the Monday blues, the post-concert depression, but we got into a good groove, and now we're back, and here talking sports, man.
I'm so jealous. Was it good?
It was amazing.
I know it was good.
One of the best concerts I've ever been to. Actually,
Really?
Probably the best concert I've ever
Really?
been to. Oh, yeah.
Wow. And this was the second time that you've seen
Second time I've seen
Lamar,
him. Yeah, man. Yeah.
right? Okay. How was SZA?
She was good.
Yeah?
She was good. Oh, you know what, dude? I ran into SZA on my way into the arena.
I saw you had it on Instagram or something.
Yeah. Our Lyft driver dropped us off, and I've never been to Allegiant, so I wasn't really sure what I was doing or where I was going.
Uh-huh.
And so I saw a crowd walking towards a specific direction, and so I told my siblings, I was like, just follow that crowd and see where it takes us.
Yeah.
And as we get closer, there's like people freaking out, and I hear somebody like, oh my God, she's right there. And I was like, SZA's not out here, is she? And so
Wow.
I get on my tippy toes to look over this crowd, and I have my camera over my head, trying to see what the heck's going on. And I pull my phone down to see what I just took pictures of. And sure enough, SZA's right there. And I'm 2 feet away from SZA, man. It was
That's cool.
Pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, there you go. And well, I'm glad you had a good time. I really like Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
I was telling you last week I went and watched one of the Pac-12 championships. I watched the Utes play Oregon there. That was when I was down in college at SUU. We were able to find cheap tickets, and Vegas is like a 2-hour drive from Cedar City. So, yeah, Allegiant Stadium, awesome.
It's super nice, man. It's huge, too.
It's intimidatingly large.
I see why they call it the Death Star. It makes sense. When you go in, it's very dark, but it's nice.
One thing I noticed is it's very steep.
Yeah.
People say that about Delta Center. It's very steep. When you're at the very top, it's not like you're far away from the field. You're almost right on top of it.
Right.
And you look straight down.
Yeah, dude.
But it's crazy big.
And then there's that torch on one of the one of the end zones. I was sitting right by it, and I got to walk by it, and they have this huge bar under the torch, and it was just so freaking awesome, man.
Oh,
Allegiant Stadium is
cool.
is phanomenal. Hats off to the Raiders for building such an amazing arena.
And after the show, you go throw some chips down on blackjack?
No. I'm not a gambling man.
Ah, man.
I'm not a gambling man.
Well,
I don't have the good luck, so I don't partake in those activities.
Okay, whatever.
I don't.
We got Parker this weekend. Parker, what's up? How was your week, man? I haven't seen you in a bit.
Yeah, no, it has been a while. And it's been good. It's been good. Kind of same old, same old.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Enjoying the summertime?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I come alive during the summer. I kind of hibernate in the winter a bit. I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to do anything. I'm grumpy. And then, spring hits and bam, everything's beautiful.
There you go. It is nice.
Parker got a haircut, man.
I did.
There you go.
Much
Me
overdue.
too.
Looks nice.
I didn't even, like I said, I barely see you, so I
Yeah,
didn't
right?
notice. I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad this week was nice. It was overwhelmingly hot last weekend, and then it cooled down.
It was.
Highlight of my week, I guess, I would say I played paintball last weekend for one of my friend's bachelor parties. So yeah, we went paintballing. It was middle of the afternoon. It was like 2 p.m. last Saturday, so it was like 90 degrees. But it was fun. I haven't been paintballing in a while. It didn't hurt as much as I remembered. But I was also kind of like hiding in the back. Like
making sure you didn't get pelted.
Let's just say I was not on the front lines.
Oh man, I've only been paintballing once, and I was underdressed, and it hurt.
Well, I showed up.
It hurt.
I brought like a change of pants, and I brought like a shirt that I didn't care about because your clothes will probably get ruined. Yeah. And I brought a hoodie. Oh. And I was like, I show up and I'm the only one with the hoodie, and I'm like, oh man. And I put the hoodie on and it was too hot. So after like 2 minutes, I took the hoodie off. So I was like, just wearing a t-shirt, but it wasn't that bad. Like I said, it didn't hurt as much as I remembered. So.
Paintballing, the one time I went, it was fun. Yeah. It was fun, but I got hurt and I've decided that I'm a wuss. Yeah. And I'm never going back.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if I get out again. I don't know. Anyway, let's jump into this because there is a lot of information to go through. This information came out late last night.
Yeah, about 7 o'clock last night.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, just out of the middle of nowhere. I want to give a shout out to Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports. He has been really on top of this. A lot of the information that I've been getting that I'm going to go through is kind of coming from him, from his articles. So we're going to do our best to explain it. But like I said, this is all fresh. If you want the best source, go check out Ross Dellinger, again, from Yahoo Sports. Long story short, though, Judge Claudia Wilkin approved an agreement between the named defendants, which would be the NCAA, and the plaintiffs, dozens of suing student athletes, to settle 3 consolidated cases. All of them are seeking more compensation for athletes. Yada, yada, yada. There's 2 parts to this. The first part is there's going to be $2.8 billion in back pay that's going to go from athletes, former student athletes, from 26 to 2024. So that $2.8 billion is going to get distributed between thousands of football and men's basketball players from 2016 to 2024 because they feel like they missed out on NIL. So that's the first part. The other part of this is schools are now going to have $20.5 million.
That's right, yes.
Basically in a salary cap to distribute amongst their student athletes. And yes. There are certain breakdowns of that, like 90% of it.
And a $20.5 million that's going to continue to go up.
Right. Okay.
Year.
So it's just like, the NBA or NFL salary cap. It's going to raise every year.
It is a salary cap that is being implemented to college athletics.
The distribution formula goes as such. Oh, no, that's back pay. Basically, 90% of it goes to football because football at any university or most universities is the driving force behind athletics. That's what brings in the most money. So I think it was like $16 million of that $20.5 million goes to football. Another couple million goes to basketball, and then the rest is basically distributed amongst the other sports. Going back to the back pay, though, I think this is funny because I don't know what the 2016 came from. Like, why start there? Mm-hmm. Because obviously there are hundreds of thousands, at least, of student athletes that played before then, maybe even millions, right? I don't know how many, but it's like our guy Hans Olsen, right? Yeah. Legend. Yeah. Legend at BYU. Not seeing a dime in back pay.
2016, it's a weird year, and I would like to know why that was picked, because I think NILs didn't really start becoming available to college athletes until 2021. So, I mean, if they would have picked 2021, that would make sense, because that's when NIL started.
Right.
But 2016 is a weird number. But I do think it's cool that, you're allowing athletes who maybe didn't get an opportunity to, if you look at the football sense of things, athletes that potentially didn't get to have a big opportunity in the NFL, and they get to go back now and they get some money out of it. 2.3 billion of that 2.8 billion, it's going right back to Power 4 football players and men's basketball players who are getting an average of 120K per year, or excuse me, per player over the next 10 years. And that's going to be that back pay that you're seeing from that 2.8 billion. Of that, most of it's going to former men's basketball players.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
$2.8 billion is a lot of money.
Look, man, I'll take 120K.
What I think is funny, though, Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
One of the, you could say more popular, I guess, student athletes, football players, whatever, over the last 15, 20 years. People talk about how much money he could have made in NIL, yada, yada, yada. Unfortunately for Johnny Manziel, this back pay only goes back to 2016. Of course, he left college in 2013.
Yeah.
So I do think that is kind of ironic almost. I mean, it would have been even funnier if the back pay went to 2014 and Johnny Manziel missed out by like a year. But no, I mean, we'd have to go through and some of the big names. I don't know, like Yahoo, I think it was Yahoo Sports tweeted out an image basically announcing the back pay, right? And they used Baker Mayfield as the graphic. And it's like, okay, Baker Mayfield does not need to be the representative of this. The guy who got drafted number 1 overall and is on like his 4th NFL contract.
And truthfully, I don't think Baker needs 120K. I don't think that's going to do much for him.
Right.
You know?
There are so many other names that probably didn't make it in the pros or whatever.
Yeah, man.
But you use Baker Mayfield as the graphic. So I thought that was funny. Going to the revenue sharing side of things. This is where we're going to see a lot of, I think there are going to be a lot of lawsuits coming from this. But there are so many kind of caveats that come with it. Number one, I think first and foremost that I thought was interesting, there is going to be the implementation of the College Sports Commission.
That's right.
A group operated mostly by power leagues. It immediately takes effect, and it is basically going to oversee all of these NIL deals.
Yeah.
And I do want to mention, because we haven't made this clear yet, this revenue sharing model does not eliminate NIL deals from third-party sources, right? So the way these kids were making money beforehand can still happen. This is just an additional source of money that student athletes can make. So this does not wipe out, donors or
which
deals with fast food restaurants or car dealerships or whatever.
Which I think is a good thing.
Right.
Which I think is a good thing, because we're just going to throw out some hypotheticals, right? School A only brings in $8 million in NIL, while School B brings in $15 million. When you bring in the rev share and you give every school $20.5 million to distribute amongst the players across your entire athletics department, I feel like that just evens out the playing field a little bit. Yes, obviously there's still going to be big schools that get a lot more in NIL, but at least you're giving that School A, who only brought in $7 million in NIL this past season, now you're giving them a little bit more financial resources to potentially bring in higher recruits. And I feel like that should hopefully give you a little bit more parity and allow you to even the field a little bit, right? Even though there is still going to be big collectives who bring in a lot of money, but at least now you're starting at a base where you can go to a recruit and say, hey, look, this is what we can offer you, even though we're not the heaviest hitters. And I think that's good. I think that's a great thing for college sports.
I think obviously that's better for the quote unquote little guys like Utah State.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
They're still going to have that main draw that they can use, for basketball, for example. And I know that we talked about only a certain amount of this money can be used for basketball, right? But one player that gets more of your money is more impactful to basketball than it would be to football. So if Utah State wants to kind of focus on that basketball program and say, okay, we've got X amount of dollars to use for basketball, and let's use most of that money to bring in one star player, that's going to have a big impact.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I do think that kind of raises the floor to some of these smaller schools. Also worth noting, schools are permitted to distribute this money amongst the student athletes, not required.
That is true.
So the schools, per the settlement agreement, could just take the money without giving it to their student athletes. Now, I'm sure that would kind of dissuade some players from going there, but at the same time,
Yes.
it's like $20.5 million is a lot for, I'm thinking of like the smaller FBS schools.
Right.
Like that's a lot of money that they could probably really use. And it might not be worth it for those athletic programs, the really small athletic programs, to distribute the money amongst student athletes. You know, they'd rather just put that into their athletic budget.
Yeah, but then I feel like if you're not distributing that to players, and again, kind of using this to recruit, I feel like that would just put you at a big disadvantage.
It might. I think there are always going to be good players, whether or not they're getting paid.
Yeah.
And they might not stick around. You know, let's say they have a good year at these smaller schools. Yeah, they're probably going to transfer the next year because they're going to get noticed by the larger schools who actually have the money. But, that's no different than what we're seeing right now. I don't think there's ever going to be a way to make your Sun Belt schools as competitive as your SEC schools, right? This is crazy though. So 90% of this budget goes to football and men's basketball. So in year one, under the $20.5 million, that's about $13 to $16 million for football, $2 to $4 million for men's basketball. And then the remaining money left over is shared between women's basketball, baseball, volleyball, and other Olympic sports. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I did see some negative reactions towards, the distribution, but at the end of the day, no matter where you go, football's the moneymaker. Football's what brings in the most revenue. And so it makes sense to give 75 to 85% of that $20.5 million to the football program and to the football players. I'm sure, as time goes on, that might fluctuate and might change, but right now it brings in the most money for most schools, so it makes sense that football gets about 85% of that.
So how is this going to be regulated? Again, College Sports Commission. They have found their guy to lead this, Brian Seeley. He's a former assistant U.S. attorney and the Major League Baseball's vice president of investigations. He is the CEO of this College Sports Commission. So basically, they are going to be the ones enforcing this.
Yeah.
They are going to be the ones trying to regulate this, which is crazy to me because
it seems like a tall task.
I don't see how that's even possible. So yeah, Brian Seeley, you might have the hardest job in the world right now.
Yes.
There's another group, NIL Go. They are the clearinghouse, and they have to approve because we talked about how these student athletes can still have NIL deals with third-party sources, right? So the clearinghouse, NIL Go, has to approve of these deals now. So deals can still be agreed upon, but they basically have to be approved by this clearinghouse, and that's for any NIL deal over $600 in valuation.
That one's interesting because, you go from completely unregulated NIL to now what's basically going to be a committee giving you the stamp of approval to say, yes, you can, use your NIL money to pay this player X amount, or no, you can't do that. And I feel like that gives an interesting amount of power to this NIL Go committee.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I think this one's gonna be like a little bit of a time will tell type situation, because I'm sure in a few months' time you're gonna hear X player missed out on $1 million because NIL Go said, you know what, we're not gonna approve this.
Right. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this is it's so new and people have become so lawsuit happy, and that's how we got here in the first place. There are going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of lawsuits that come from this within the first year or two.
I would think so.
This opens the door. It's a can of worms, and it's
Pandora's box has been opened.
from the very start. It's like, okay, what can we do to try to make things better? What can we do to get the student athletes more money?
Yeah.
But it's like the more you give, the more you allow, the more that they want to take. And the more that so-and-so feels like he got cheated or she got cheated out of money, somebody gets in their ear and says, hey, sue. Just sue. And this is where it leads to. So
Well,
that's
and I mean, for a while there, like the NCAA had no power against lawsuits, right? It seemed like everything and every time that the NCAA got sued for something, it seems like the player always won.
yeah.
And I think that's why we're seeing the trend that we're seeing. And I'm sure there's going to be some players out there that has some legal advice that aren't happy with this settlement, and there's going to be stuff to come out of it, for sure.
It's going to be a mess.
Yep.
It is a mess. Again, there's a lot of information all coming out all at once. It's a big day for college. Like this decision, this announcement, it changes college sports forever.
Well, college sports is now officially pro.
It's pro.
It's officially pro. You're putting a salary cap on athletic programs.
You're putting a salary cap, and you are giving the schools and the institutions the power
Right.
to pay their athletes.
Rev share contracts are going to be signed. You're now signing a contract to play for a certain college athletic program. It's the days of amateurism is over. It's been over.
It's been over, but
this is
like,
officially kind of
this
pushing
is the
it in the
flat
pro.
line on the heart monitor.
Yeah, there you go.
For amateurism.
One of the things that's been highly debated and highly scrutinized through this whole thing has been the roster limits.
Yeah.
Now football is capped at 105 players. Men's basketball is capped at 15, and baseball programs are capped at 34.
And I saw this for football. So 105 roster spots, and they can all be scholarship.
Yeah.
But they don't have to be.
Yes.
So that's an important note is schools can still have walk-ons. They don't have to give all 105 of those scholarships, but they do have 105 scholarships available. And I'm assuming that it's similar to basketball and the rest of the sports.
Yes. And now, because I think it was, 85 for football as far as scholarships went?
Yeah.
It was 85, but now you go up to 105, which, like you mentioned, gives you a little bit of flexibility where you're able to you're able to scholarship and give those players that money for academics if academics still matters in all this.
Yeah.
Does it? I don't know. But it just, again, allows you to kind of put a contract in front of these players and say, hey, look, this is your quote-unquote scholarship. This is how much you're going to get from RevShare. Welcome to the University of Alabama or wherever it is you're going.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Big day. I'm like, after we get through the initial facts and statements, it's like I'm almost shocked and at a loss for words how crazy, how ridiculous this is to think about.
It's been a long time coming. We knew it was coming. Everybody was kind of waiting for it. Now that it's officially here, it's I think there's a lot of positives, sure. But I think this is one of those situations where we're going to have to see and wait what comes out of it. I think this isn't something that we're going to 100% be sure on if it's a good thing for college sports or if it's a bad thing for college sports, at least for a couple years until the dust kind of settles and we really, the committee or commission or whatever it's called, it really kind of gets going and figures out how to regulate all this craziness that is college sports.
Another thing, because of this, donors can now be rewarded by schools directly with benefits like priority points or parking passes or some sort of perks or whatever.
So the more,
so you can have a greater incentive to donate because beforehand, you donate to the collective, whatever collective. And I don't know what it was like before. because I never did it. I don't think you ever got really anything in return. Maybe you got some merch or something, but this is like, now there's a greater incentive to donate.
Yeah. It kind of is, yeah. Kind of is a credit card.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. You allow, which again, there's positives. You allow, you incentivize people to donate, and then in return, you slide in, if you're not a season ticket holder, slide in a couple tickets for the family,
Yeah.
And because I think, like I said, it's awesome that everybody now kind of has like a level playing ground, but at the same time, because NIL still exists and you're still able to bring in all this money, NIL isn't going to go away, and you're still going to need to have those boosters and those donations to the collectives or through that third party or whatever it is, in order to continue to be one of the best.
Right. That's
to be
what
one
we
of the
talked
top.
about. If everybody has a $20.5 million, right, your advantage still comes from NIL, from your donors and your boosters and whatever, and your collectives and the small businesses that want to help out.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing or anything that you're incentivizing, Mario's Pizza Shop down the street to bring in donations, and you slide in a couple tickets for the staff or whatever it is to be
right
to show your appreciation.
The Mason Falslev shake at Arctic Circle.
That's where we're at, man. What, a couple years ago, that was a big no-no. And now it's like, hey, give us money and we'll give you tickets.
Well, it's funny. I remember, so I went to SCU for college, and I was there from 2018 to 2022. So like basically the very beginning of all this NIL stuff. And a lot of the NIL deals that those student athletes had down there were like, again, with like small businesses. Like they had an NIL deal with Culver's. There was a Culver's down in Cedar City. And so they were like, I remember they shot like this commercial. It was like, it wasn't professional at all. It was like shot on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Edited by like some student, like intern.
Some graphic student.
But it's like, it was like cute in a way. It was like, oh yeah, like these guys, I don't even know how many meals they get. It's not like they get to eat for free for life at Culver's, but it was like, yeah, Culver's is helping SCU basketball be competitive. And now it's like, oh my goodness, these guys are getting like millions and millions of dollars. It's pretty ridiculous.
What a time, man.
And I don't know how much, again, for the example, I don't know how much the basketball players down at SCU are making now, but
yeah,
I would be interested. I should check in with some people I know down there to see kind of what the average is. Because it's not like the level of, the Utah State or BYU that we have up here, or even Utah. So I do wonder how this impacts the smaller schools.
That would be kind of interesting to find out, because I mean,
I know
you brought it up a little bit earlier. You brought it up a little bit earlier where you mentioned like a Utah State who now has more money to compete and be competitive.
Yeah. I might try to get somebody on from down at SU to jump on with us next week, because he would probably be able to help us out with understanding how this would affect the bottom of Division I.
Yeah.
Right? We, of course, Alabama, those schools, Georgia, even BYU, for example, like this doesn't really change a whole lot for them because they practically had unlimited money anyways.
Yeah, you just give them more money.
Right. But for the smaller schools, the little guys, that's what I want to know is how does this help those guys? So
that'd be an interesting
We'll do some
conversation.
digging.
Yeah,
We'll do some digging.
That'd be a good conversation.
Yeah, that was breaking news as of last night. Again, a lot of information coming out on this. So it's going to be a big topic throughout the week. But we got to take a break. Coming up next, we'll get into NBA Finals, Game 1. Obviously, we all know how it went, and we'll get into that next. This is the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles with me. Some clarification we had to check with the Google machine. Yes, FCS schools are indeed part of this revenue sharing. Again, they have to opt in or opt out. I don't know why they would opt out.
Yes.
But it sounds like that could be an option. So we've got some digging to do.
There's still a lot that we need to find out and figure out about all this.
Yeah.
It's brand new. It's fresh. I didn't know. I didn't think that FCS schools were going to be involved, but it says any NCAA school who opts in is eligible for the $20.5 million, which is insane because that's. I mean, if you look, the reality is FCS doesn't bring in.
No, I'm
as
looking.
much
I'm trying to
as
find
an
like
as an
SU's.
FBS?
Yeah. Well, I keep bringing up SU because I went there. Right.
Right,
But
right,
this
right.
also affects Weber State.
Right. Yeah.
And Utah Valley.
Yes.
So I'm trying to find like SU's revenue during the 2024 year. The Google AI, so I don't know how much you can trust that right off the bat.
Google AI.
Yeah, that's what it is. It says $18 million for the 2024 year. So this $20.5 million revenue sharing would already be more than what they brought in.
Yeah.
It'd already be double
Right.
what they brought in. So, anyways, that's enough on that. We'll talk to some people. We'll have a guest on and talk about this next week. But Alex, let's talk NBA Finals because this first game was absolutely electric. It was probably, well, first off, it was better than anybody was expecting because
Right.
everyone was basically saying, "Oh, the Thunder are going to win by 20,"
Right.
because that's what they've done at home all year. And it looked like it was going to start off like that because the Pacers played so poorly in the first half, but my goodness, time and time again, Tyrese Halliburton hitting the game-winning shot right at the, I mean, I'm going to say at the buzzer, but there was 0.3 seconds left, but
It was at the buzzer.
it was essentially at the buzzer.
Yeah.
And that was his third time doing that this playoffs.
Halliburton, man.
What the Hallie?
Hallie, big shot, bro. Look, you know, after you get voted the most under or overrated player in the NBA by your peers,
Yeah.
take that personally. You take that personally, and then you go on this incredible run that we're seeing not only Halliburton take, but the Pacers.
Well, what's funny is the two best teams in the NBA since January 1st, you know, the year of our Lord 2025, have been the Pacers and the Thunder. Not even counting the playoffs. Like those were the two best regular season teams. So it's
Right.
I guess not exactly a surprise that we're seeing them in the finals, but yeah, on one side you have the closest thing to a super team that we have in the NBA right now in the Thunder because SGA won MVP, Jalen Williams, all-star, all-defensive team. I think he was third team All-NBA. And then you've got Chet Holmgren, a recent number 2 overall pick with an unlimited ceiling, basically, and then all these other role players. So they're basically a super team. And then on the other side, you've got the Indiana Pacers, you know, your blue-collar workers that show up and get it done and just work hard. I think it's an incredibly interesting matchup. One thing I thought was crazy about this game is the Thunder did what they wanted to do. They really, really disrupted Indiana, especially in the first half. Turnovers were a problem.
Yes.
The Pacers finished with 24 overall turnovers, and I thought that was the key part of the game. If Indiana wanted to win, they had to control the ball because that's what the Thunder do best on defense is they turn you over. They get those extra possessions, turn those into points. And if you would have told me that Indiana would have over 20 turnovers, I didn't think that they would win the game, especially that first half. The first half was rough, but they locked in the second half. They made some adjustments. And the thing that I like most about Tyrese Halliburton, you know, he's got the game-winning shot. He finished with 14 points.
Yeah.
And 13 total shots. This is not your typical James Harden, Luka Doncic, Donovan Mitchell, who's going to be taking 30 shots a game. He's a true point guard.
Yes.
He lets everybody get involved.
Yes. And I also think it's a massive credit to the Thunder for containing Tyrese Halliburton for as long as they did.
Right. Their defense is crazy.
It's absolutely suffocating. And, you know, honestly, in the third quarter, about halfway through the third quarter, it looked like OKC was kind of coasting, man. It looked like
Yes.
they were on their way to wrapping it up, taking game one, and then going into this game two with a 1-0 lead. But instead, the Pacers just turned it on, man. I don't know if OKC just got lax. I don't know if they relaxed, took their foot off the gas a little bit too much, you know, or what or if the Pacers were just that good. I feel like a lot of people coming into this series already writ off Indiana.
Yeah.
But I think the narrative has completely changed now because they steal game one. And I think that one of the best things about this, too, is the fact that it's not just Halliburton. Siakam had 19.
Yeah.
Turner had 15. Nembhard, 14. And Naismith had 10. You have your entire starting lineup in double-digit scoring.
Yeah.
It's not one guy. It's not, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
17, sorry to interrupt. Plus 17 from Toppin off the bench.
Yeah, there you go, man. It's everybody's getting involved. It's not just your star guy putting up 38 points like it was for OKC in this one. It's everybody's contributing and everybody's doing what they need to do to mount the comeback. And even on an off night for Tyrese, right? He wasn't by far any means the leading scorer, but you put the ball in his hands in the most vital moment, and he makes the moment happen.
Yep.
And that's what we've seen from Tyrese throughout this entire playoffs. You go back to game one against the Knicks, that comeback against New York, it was Tyrese Halliburton putting up the shot. There was a couple of games against Cleveland, right, where they were down with 30 seconds left, and who does it? Tyrese Halliburton. Who does it again?
He
did it against
Milwaukee.
the Bucks.
Yeah,
he's done it time and time again, and it's awesome. He's having such an incredible playoffs, man. But this Pacer team is, I think, people wrote him off too soon.
It's hard because the Thunder, on paper, the Thunder are the better team, right? But this is why you play team sports, because it's not just about what happens on paper. It's about what happens in the moment. And for Indiana just overcome all those turnover issues. I mean, Obi Toppin especially, it felt like every time he touched the ball in the first half, he lost it. But he had a really strong second half. And I want to say they don't win the game without Obi Toppin's second half, but you could honestly say that about any one of these Pacers players because they truly, like you're saying, it's not just Tyrese Halliburton, which is interesting because most people would say he's a top 10, top 15 player, especially based on these playoffs. I mean, throughout these playoffs, he's been one of the 5 best players in these playoffs. But it's, again, he doesn't need the ball constantly. He doesn't need to put up 30, 35-point performances. Now, he can. We saw him have that one game against the Knicks where he had like 35 points, 15 assists, 12 rebounds, and 0 turnovers or whatever.
Yes.
He can do that, but that's not how this Pacers team wins. They win the game when Andrew Nembhard takes on SGA one-on-one like a crazy person and hits a James Harden step back right in his face with 2 minutes left and they're trailing. Who does Andrew Nembhard think he is doing that? But it goes in. That was awesome.
That was awesome.
I just think, I mean, the final 5 minutes of this game were just absolutely incredible because they start the fourth quarter down. And like you're saying, it's like, oh yeah, Oklahoma City, one of the loudest environments in the NBA, one of the hardest stadiums to play at. They've got the lead. They're running away with this. And then a few minutes in, it's like, okay, Indiana's not going away. And then like 4 or 3 minutes left, it's like, okay, they're kind of creeping back. Are they actually going to do it again? We've seen them do it twice already in these playoffs. And then that final minute, it's like, there's no way. But there is a way. There is a way. And they do it. And it's crazy.
No lead in the fourth quarter is safe when you're playing this Indiana Pacers team.
They are, okay, there was 0.3 seconds on the clock when Halliburton hit that shot. That's the latest in any NBA playoff game that a team has taken the lead for the first time.
Yes. And like you mentioned, they didn't lead this entire game.
No.
They didn't have any sort of a lead up until that shot from Halliburton. And so they led this game for a total of 0.3 seconds, man. And obviously won. No fourth quarter lead is safe with this Indiana Pacers team. You think you've got them. But the reality is they're going to find a way. And it's led by Halliburton, who is showing and becoming a special player for this Pacers team and in this league. Teams were 0 and 182 in the NBA Finals, entering when trailing by 9 points in the final 3 minutes of the of an NBA Finals game, and now they're 1-182.
That's
because
crazy.
of Tyrese Halliburton.
Let's talk game 2. Let's talk adjustments. Unfortunately, during the finals, there's 2 days in between every game.
Lame.
So they're not going to play again until tomorrow.
Yeah.
When will then be now?
Right.
Soon.
I would have loved to see that game today. But the interesting thing is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander still had 38 points. Now, he was a shot chucker in game 1, 14 of 30. He seemed to fall off in the second half, particularly because he had 19 points in the first half, and I felt like he was kind of dominating the game, getting to his spots. But then you look at Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, the second and third fiddle. J-Dub had 17, and Chet Holmgren only had 6 points, 2 of 9 shooting. So awful game from Chet, pretty mediocre game from J-Dub. I don't think that you can, if you're Indiana, I don't think you can bank on that happening again. I mean, those guys are too good to be inconsistent. To do that again, I should say. They're going to have bad games, but it's not going to be back-to-back, right? Yeah. So I really like Nesmith and Nembhard and what they're able to do, and even Halliburton when he tries on defense. They can be good defenders. But it's like, where do you give and where do you take as far as letting SGA get his shots versus trying to dare Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren to beat you? That's where I'm curious to see Rick Carlisle making his adjustments and what their defensive plan looks like. Because obviously, for as fun as this win was, they don't want to have to do that again. They would rather be leading
agree.
In the final few minutes of the game.
I 100% agree. And I think for OKC, it's a tough loss. It's a hard pill to swallow, but you got to put it in the rearview mirror, right?
Yeah.
Don't dwell on a loss at home, especially now here in the NBA Finals. Don't dwell on it. Learn from your mistakes. Probably don't get lax in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And put this game in the rearview mirror and come back and have better contributions from Chet and Jalen Williams. And I think that's going to be the key to tying it up at 1-1. You can't allow the Pacers to steal your home court advantage.
No. If the Pacers win the 2 games in Oklahoma City, and I know a lot of people are talking about, home court advantage is not a thing. It doesn't matter. It does matter.
It does. Yes.
It does matter.
Absolutely. Especially I feel like especially in a finals.
Especially in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting, for as good as OKC's defense is, they forced the 24 turnovers that we talked about. It did feel like Indiana was struggling to get the ball up, but when they did, they shot 47% from the field, 46% from 3. Those are great shooting numbers. So, I mean, OKC's got to continue to pressure them and try and turn the ball over, because it felt like whenever they got into the half court, whenever the Pacers did, there was help defense coming and just swarming, whether it was Lou Dort or Alex Caruso. It feels like, or even SGA at times, it feels like there's always somebody coming in from the back, just knocking the ball away. And so I think that's the scary part about the Thunder. But again, the Pacers, when they were able to get the shots up, they were dropping. So those are high numbers. I wonder if those shooting percentages are going to fall back to average, or if they're going to continue to be hot. A lot of keys in game 2, but SGA over under 35 points.
Ooh. I'm taking the over.
You think so?
I'm taking the over. 35 is a lot.
You think he's going to put up 30 shots?
Oh. How many did he have this last game?
He had 30.
He had 30?
He made 14 of 30 shots.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I could see him putting up 30 again.
I wonder, and obviously this all depends on how the rest of your team is shooting. Lou Dort, by the way, went crazy from 3. Made 5 of his 9 3-pointers, and he was like, during the regular season, he shot like 27% from 3 or something, so that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it depends on how everybody else is shooting, right? Ideally, Chet is shooting a lot better, and 19 is a good number for J-Dub, but I don't know, 30 just feels like a lot for SGA.
I think ideally obviously, like we were just talking about with the Pacers, you want a spread of the wealth,
Yeah.
right? You want to get Chet Holmgren involved. You want to get Jalen Williams involved. You want to get Lou Dort involved, right? Have him put up another 15 in game 2. You want to spread the wealth a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like SGA is a clutch enough player that if he has to play hero ball and kind of carry if Holmgren and Williams aren't sharp or aren't contributing probably the way that they want to contribute
Again.
like we saw in game 1, then I think SGA has that ability to be the hero and kind of take on that responsibility and have him take 30 shots. I think ideally you don't want him to take 30 shots, but if push comes to shove, he's the guy you want with the ball.
OKC 10.5-point favorites. So Vegas is expecting them to respond in a big way in Game 2. Game 2 is tomorrow, 6 p.m., and then they will play Game 3 on Wednesday. So
I just love that it's lived up to the hype, man.
you know what makes me upset?
What?
This is like the lowest rated finals ever since they've been tracking it or something.
Come on.
I think that's ridiculous. I think
I get why people don't want to watch, but I think after seeing Game 1 go the way that it did, I think numbers will probably be better for Game 2.
well, and this is
because it's proven that it's unpredictable.
It's the NBA's problem. They don't want to market their small market teams. They don't care about them.
Boo.
Anyways, I have some stuff in the technical files we'll get into.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned for that. We'll hit that next. This is the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles here as well. Time for technical files where we get to talk about the wacky things in sports.
It's my favorite segment.
It's always fun. And you know what? I will say a lot of our daily shows throughout the week are jealous of this segment.
No, really?
Yeah. Well, particularly Jake and Ben.
Oh, okay.
Let's just say they are kind of implementing ways to steal the segment from
Oh,
us and copy it. But
jerks.
they'll never be as good as us.
No, absolutely not.
Never. Let's get into it. I've got one. It's okay. Last week, of course, we had Stephon Diggs on the yacht with
Yes,
the pink cocaine.
yes.
It's going to be hard to top that ever. So I'm just warning the listeners right now. My technical foul today isn't nearly as good as that one. That was a really good one.
That was a great one.
But I want to give a technical foul to the NBA and Adam Silver for the lack of not only like NBA Finals marketing and promotion. Not only are you burying the small market teams, but like you tune into the game, they didn't have NBA Finals logos on the court.
Yes. Dude,
That's ridiculous.
Not having the trophy
Nothing.
with the logo, like at center court, that's a crime. That is a crime.
Meanwhile,
Why are we getting rid of this?
For the stupid in-season tournament, all 30 teams get a ridiculous
Yes.
eyesore of a court redesign. I don't think any of those courts looked good. They hurt to look at because the color saturation is so intense.
Yes.
You want to pump. I can't imagine how much it must have cost to make those courts. You want to pump thousands or millions of dollars into that, but for the NBA Finals, the biggest event of the year, you can't even put a NBA Finals logo on the side.
And how many YouTube TV logos did we get?
I saw 7 at one point.
Yeah.
I was watching on YouTube TV. Ironically enough.
To be fair.
And Commissioner Adam Silver did say it's an article from The Athletic. I don't know if they were interviewing him or if this was just a statement, but he said, it's nice when you're looking back on highlights and they stand out because you see that trophy logo or some other indication that it's a special event. So we'll look at it. You don't say, Adam.
You have to look at it.
You don't say.
What does the NFL do, Christian?
They make it the biggest event of the year. They make it feel like it's something worth watching.
They have
put
5 Super Bowl logos on the field.
all over.
Yeah. The World
They
Series
put
does
patches
it.
on the jerseys.
There's patches. There's everything. that's the thing too, is like there was no patches on the jerseys for the NBA Finals. There's nothing to commemorate this special moment, right?
If you took a screenshot of it and compared it to a screenshot from a random regular season game, you wouldn't be able to tell which one was the finals.
They did. People, I saw people on social media going back and finding clips from when OKC played the Pacers in the regular season and compared it to how the presentation was for the...
It's the exact same.
The only difference and the only way that you would have known it's an NBA, like you knew it was the NBA Finals game, was because the score bug said NBA, like it was golden.
So they did have marketing, my bad.
That's it. No,
they did have marketing,
but that's not
my
even
bad.
NBA. That's ESPN.
It's ridiculous.
That's the only distinction that you saw was the gold score bug from ESPN.
Do you think it's because they're small market teams that the NBA just doesn't care?
That's a great question.
That's the conspiracy theory that I'm willing to buy into. You want to talk about, okay, you say they don't care about their small market teams. Give me some evidence. Well, this is evidence.
Yeah.
You've got the Pacers and the Thunder in the finals. Okay, the NBA is going to do the bare minimum that they have to do to put this out. You tune in, they don't show any of the pregame presentation. It's just it's just another game. Do better, NBA.
Yeah,
I want to feel like you care.
You can't tout this as just another game. This is your NBA Finals.
But oh my gosh, if LeBron James was there. Oh. If LeBron James and the Lakers were there, you would know it's the finals.
I don't want to see 7 YouTube TV logos. I want to see the NBA Finals.
I want to know what the hell I'm watching. I want to know what I'm tuning in for.
Yeah, I would agree.
Anyways. It really frustrates me.
Speaking of the finals,
okay,
we have we're gonna stick with the NBA Finals for the second technical foul.
For yours that you're gonna give out.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. There's a news station in Fort Wayne, Indiana, WPTA, that has gone viral overnight because they decided they're airing the final. Obviously, this is a huge event for Indiana.
Okay.
And with a minute 13 left on the clock, they decided to tease the news.
So you're saying like as the Pacers were beginning their comeback.
Exactly. There's like 1:13 left on the clock, and they decided to cut the game and throw to a news tease, and this is what it sounded like.
The Thunder clinging to this 3-point lead. SGA the drive, it's on, shot blocked. Siakam throws it back.
Next on 21 Alive News, the man who was brutally beaten at Pike's Pub last week has come forward. Hear what he wants to have happen now. Also tonight, a big night for Pacer fans as Indiana is in the NBA Finals. We'll show you a local business who has seen a boost from the Yes Sirs.
And we could see a little fog overnight tonight. We'll have the very latest forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Thanks for staying up with us. I'm Amar Abbas. Fort Wayne's most watched news start.
SGA guarded by Nimhard.
And then they cut. And then the best part about it too is they cut off the newscaster to throw it back to the game. So he didn't even finish his tease.
You know what that was? That had to have been a producer hitting a button by accident. I think that was a pre-recorded thing.
Yeah.
And somebody like bumped a button or accidentally pressed it. You know, as producers during the week, you know, we know how delicate those boards and the technology and the buttons can be, right?
Right.
If you accidentally press something and it plays, I mean, it's like, oh. So that has to be what that was. Man, brutally beaten.
Brutally beaten. And then, oh, hey, by the way, it's a big night for the Pacers. They're about to make this comeback. We just cut out of the game to tease this, but it's a huge night for the Pacers.
We'll recap the NBA Finals. Stay tuned. It's like, oh, they're still going on.
It's not over.
Well, and the funny part is, so obviously that was on the TV, right? So they go in. It starts. Siakam gets the rebound off of OKC miss.
Yes.
The Pacers were down 107 to 110.
Yeah.
The news thing comes in. It comes out. The Pacers are down 109 to 110, and the Thunder have the ball. So the Pacers made a key shot. Again, that started that comeback.
Right.
I I believe it was either a Siakam shot or a Miles Turner shot. I think it was Siakam got a rebound and put the shot up. So it only missed one possession, but it's a key possession. It's a Siakam, it's a Pacers shot that got them within 1 point.
It's a huge play to miss. So technical foul to WPTA for going viral for
Poor guys.
I think, if this happens anywhere else, it's probably not that like as crazy and as big of a deal. But it's the fact that it's in Indiana that this happened that I think makes it such a blunder.
If your Dallas Mavericks affiliate TV station is playing the game and they accidentally cut out, nobody cares. But it's the actual Pacers market.
Yes.
I don't know if it's their flagship TV station or what, but that's such a big deal. That's funny.
Sorry, residents of Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Well, at least they got to see the shot.
At least they got to see the Halliburton shot. Yes. If imagine if they would have missed the Halliburton shot.
Heads would roll.
Oof.
Heads would roll. Okay, we're way over. We got to take a break. Coming up on the other side, we'll get into some Jazz talk. I mean, it's been such a busy week. We haven't even got to the biggest news locally. The Jazz hiring Austin Ainge to be the president of basketball operations. We'll give our takeaways on that next. This is the Saturday Show, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.